I'm flying right now in FPL, I'll be honest, but I do have a lot of dilemmas going into game week 4. Let's get into it. So, as you guys can see, the issue starts straight away, and that is Matt Sales in goal against Arsenal. Of course, a lot has happened at Forest over this last week with Nuno Espirito Santos defensively, a very good manager, especially for FPL, sacked. Ange in, who's probably the complete opposite sort of manager. And listen, I do now have concerns. Of course, the first major concern is we know Nottingham Forest are not going to be the same defensive side that they were under Nuno, which is bad for FPL or bad for me because I have double Forest defense. But there's also some people saying that, of course, Ange does like that sweeper keeper role. Does Cell suit that profile the best? I think the answer is no. But at the same time, do I really expect Ange to come in straight away and make wholesale changes with starting 11? I think the answer is no. So I'm still going to keep Cells, and it's more to do with, listen, I don't want to use a transfer with a keeper, and plus Nottingham Forest in game week 5 and game week 6 have Burnley and Sunderland back to back. Of course, the Arsenal fixtures in game week 4, so I don't expect them to do anything this week, but over the next 3, I still feel like it will be silly for me to sell Matt Sales or any other Nottingham Forest players, which I'll talk on actually. The next man I want to talk about is Pedro Porro. Listen, so far this season he's been doing relatively alright. Let's say 6 points in the first game week, 5 points in the second game week, 4 points in game week 3, and overall over the next couple games, Spurs do have very good fixtures. West Ham, obviously in game week 4, then Brighton, Wolves, and Leeds in the next 4. But at the same time, I feel like one of the main reasons I brought in Pedro Porro over someone like a Van der Ven, who was a bit cheaper, was to do with set pieces and Pedro Porro's attacking potential. But now with the introduction of Xavi Simons, and we expect him to take set pieces, and he's right footed, so it's not like Pedro Porro is going to take corners from one side, Xavi Simons from the other. It probably will be Xavi Simons from both sides, or like any corner that Pedro Porro would have taken, Simons can take, which is a bit of a concern now. But at the same time, as I said, the fixtures are too good, and I don't really want to waste a transfer there. And plus, we do know, compared to other top fullbacks, attacking fullbacks, Pedro Porro does rank very highly or well with the DEFCON system. Even against Bournemouth, he picked up 2 points for DEFCON, which was obviously very nice as a Pedro Porro owner who started in that game. So that is something I want to keep an eye on, but at the same time, I'm not using a transfer just yet. Next man, Cucurella. I keep saying it. He's probably one of my favourite players in my FPL team. The positions he picks up, as I keep saying, are a joke. And listen, you saw it for Spain the other day during the international break. He scored for Spain. Like, his finishing ability and his box scratching ability is probably the best out of any defenders in FPL in my eyes right now. So I'm very happy owning him. And the last man is Chris Richards. Listen, DEFCON system, again, rates very, very well. Game week 4, a fixture against Sunderland at home. Listen, I do have question marks over Palace going forward with Adam Wharton's progressive passing capability. He's obviously out for game week 4. We got Sarr. Listen, we all know the impact Sarr can have in FPL and on the football pitch, so he's out. So I don't know how Palace will be offensively, but at the same time, defensively, Crystal Palace are a very, very resolute side. So I'm still happy owning Chris Richards. Okay, so let's get into my midfield, and the two that I'm most happy about are Salah and Gakpo. Listen, Salah, 90-minute man on penalties, playing for the best attacking side in the Premier League against Burnley. Like, you'll be silly not picking him, and I think you'll be silly not captaining him if you own him. I think the only question mark is maybe Salah going forward. We know Salah in 2025, from an FPL point of view, hasn't been the best. But at the same time, listen, I do think, especially this season, some context has to be added. The opening 3 games have been Bournemouth, Newcastle, and Arsenal. Like, those are 3 very difficult fixtures to start the season with, and he's got returns in 2 of them. So I think I'm relatively happy owning Salah for now. Before maybe I pivot towards Haaland, maybe, but I'm not too sure. Again, Gakpo, first 2 games in the Premier League, got attacking returns in both. Relatively happy owning him. I don't expect EZ to start. I expect Gakpo to get at least 75 minutes. And listen, 75 minutes against Burnley, you're taking that. The next man, Bruno Fernandes. Very difficult fixture. Manchester City away. What do we say? Can I really transfer him out? Maybe. I've looked at maybe Bruno to Semenyo. I did say Bruno Fernandes was going to be a 1-week punt for captaincy, obviously, last week in game week 3. But I'm not too sure if I stand on that right now, if I want to roll. The reason I say that is, I saw this graphic by Rob T, and I think it was a very, very good graphic looking at Bruno Fernandes in that deeper area to the more advanced area, adding DEFCON, obviously, last year, and looking at his FPL points. In the deeper role for Manchester United, when Bruno Fernandes plays deeper, he gets 6.07 FPL points. In the more advanced role, he gets 5.23. Defcon, in the more deeper role, he picks up 12.9, so that's hitting the marker. Deeper, it goes down to 9.7. So even though Bruno Fernandes is playing deeper, and maybe we might have had question marks over how Bruno Fernandes would do from an FPL point of view playing deeper, on paper and statistically, he's getting more points from an FPL point of view. Which is why I'm going to keep Bruno Fernandes for one more week, more than likely. But listen, as I said, Bruno's similar to Salah, where he's a 90-minute man on penalties. He will always have opportunities to get FPL points besides Defcon, which is a massive positive. Iliman Ndiaye is another man I'm very, very happy owning. Aston Villa at home. Aston Villa obviously haven't been great. Everton going forward are looking phenomenal. The last 2 games, he's obviously scored in both. So I am happy. And he's also potential penalties. So listen, no complaints. The next man and the one that I left last is Elliot Anderson. And I've done that on purpose because I think a lot of people are maybe in a, let's say, dilemma of a Forest defender or Elliot Anderson, who to bench. And for me, it has to be the Forest defender. And the reason I say that is this graphic again by Rob T was very interesting. And he was looking at Angie's size last year and, let's say, DEFCON hit rate, for example. Angie's centre-backs hit the DEFCON hit rate 15% of the time. The league average, however, was 27%. In midfield, so DM centre mid, where Elliot Anderson will play, it goes to 29% for Angie's midfielders, where the league average is 32%. So that's only a 3% difference, whereas it's a 12% difference for centre-backs. And that's why I think we are more likely to see Elliot Anderson, let's say, hit, obviously, DEFCON. And also, when you've watched Elliot Anderson over the last couple of weeks in the Premier League, he's performing at a very high level. Like, it is ridiculous how good he is. You're seeing it for England. Even for England, yesterday he hit 11, DEFCON again, which is crazy. But the first game that he started for England in the international break, he hit 17. So Elliot Anderson is clearly a DEFCON monster. And I think only time will tell, but I'm pretty certain points will come for Elliot Anderson when it comes to DEFCON. I'm very, very certain for that. And that's why Elliot Anderson will be my team. And hopefully we'll pick up DEFCON against Arsenal. Now, let's get onto the attack. And this is where they're almost like two opposites. One has been performing for me this year, and one has been nothing short of a disappointment. And let's start with the disappointment first. Ollie Watkins. Aston Villa going forward have been poor. They have obviously Jadon Sancho. I don't know how much difference that's going to make from an offensive point of view, but I think Harvey Elliott could be someone that's not only beneficial from Aston Villa on the pitch, but also a potential FPL asset going forward at his price tag. But listen, Aston Villa can't get any worse from an offensive point of view. And I do think Everton away, or Everton, let's say, it's not a horrible fixture. The reason I say that is Everton have been more open this year under David Moyes with obviously the attacking talent that they have. Their centre-backs are obviously not the quickest. Could Ollie Watkins get behind and get himself a goal? Potentially. But it's not looking good for Ollie Watkins. But at the same time, he's another one where the fixtures coming up for Aston Villa are very strong, which is why I'm probably leaning towards keeping him. And the man next to him, João Pedro. Listen, we have had confirmation now that Liam Delap is out for 10 weeks. João Pedro, we know, especially the last 2 weeks against West Ham, against Fulham, the impact that he's having from an FPL point of view has been brilliant. Minutes look a lot better. But one thing I would say on minutes is João Pedro did come on for Brazil Wednesday morning UK time. And he did get some minutes for Brazil. So maybe, is he going to play 90 minutes on the weekend against Brentford? Potentially, but I also wouldn't be surprised with an early sub. Also, I don't think, do we really expect João Pedro to be getting those 70, 80 minutes that we expected at the start of the season? So now all of a sudden, being a guaranteed 90-minute man, especially now with Champions League starting soon, I'm not too sure. So I wouldn't be surprised if João Pedro actually gets an early sub this week. But listen, Chelsea, Brentford away, it is a good fixture on paper. But let's get into my transfer plans for this week. Okay, so this is the first potential transfer plan I have, and it is a bit of a dilemma because obviously I'm not the biggest fan of Nottingham Forest and how I expect Ange to set up that Nottingham Forest side, and he won't change, by the way, when it comes to Ange. Anyone that's known anything about his entire career, he's going to play the same way how we saw against for Tottenham, which is why, listen, Marilla might have to go. The reason I would have been at the start of the season was last year he was a DEFCON monster. Nottingham Forest obviously good defensively. That's not going to be the case under Ange, so I'm looking to transfer him out. But at the same time, there is that part of me that says game week 5 and game week 6, Nottingham Forest's fixtures are too good or like very good on paper, which is why should I just keep Murillo over the next 3 weeks and maybe just keep that double up on Forest? But at the same time, Lacroix is an interesting one because obviously I have money in the bank to obviously get or go directly from Murillo to Munoz. The reason I'm leading towards Lacroix right now is the same reason everyone knows, DEFCON. So Lacroix is currently averaging 12.3 CB or the clearances, blocks, interception, tackles. His actual on this graphic it says 10 plus hit rate, 67%. But that is only because Opta updated his last game DEFCON points quite late in terms of he actually did hit that 10 defensive contribution marker. So that is something where Lacroix over the opening 3 games on paper has actually hit DEFCON in every single one. Also, I feel like going forward, of course, the next 2, let's say, fixtures on paper favor, let's say, Crystal Palace from an attacking point of view in terms of what they could do. But going forward, their fixtures are not the easiest. For example, in game week 6, Crystal Palace have Liverpool. In game week 7, Everton, which we know Everton offensively have massively improved. Game week 8, they have Bournemouth. We know Bournemouth are a very good side offensively. Game week 9, Arsenal. So, how many realistically attacking returns do you really see from Munoz? He could obviously get a couple. But what I see more of over those next, let's say, 6 fixtures is DEFCON points. So that's why I would lean towards Lacroix over Munoz, just because I think it's safer. Also, you save that 0.5 million. So that's why I'm leaning towards Lacroix over a Munoz if I was to bring in the Palace defender. But at the same time, I don't think that is going to be the case this week. I think I am leaning towards rolling. As boring as that might seem, having 3 free transfers in the bank going into game week 5 and game week 6, where a lot of people are going to be playing the free hit in game week 6, maybe I can try getting an Erling Haaland with this transfer that I would have saved without a free hit, which obviously put me in a very strong position. And at the same time, I started the season very well. So I don't mind rolling again. I'm relatively happy with my team. But listen, only time will tell. This is my team for game week 4. Let me know what you lot think on my team, because I like it. I know some people have question marks over it, but let's see. Like the video, comment your thoughts, subscribe to the channel, and we will be back soon.